All right, this is Jerry's roadmap to success. This is obviously Jerry. Can we get you to lie down so it's more comfortable for me? So he really likes these bully sticks. So I would get him these and stop using the raw hides. Like I said, they're soaked in formaldehyde, bleach, and ammonia. But having something like this, and you can see the lipstick coming out, it doesn't always mean sexual. It means the dog can really like something. And even after his huevos have been removed, they still get the lipstick when they like things. So don't think it's sexy or aroused or necessarily a dirty thing. That's just humans, we make it dirty. Okay, so let me see. He needs some impulse control, which is why the video above has kind of a medley of a couple different things. So let's talk about, I forgot to go over how much to practice those things. So you're gonna take the whole thing. How about if it looks better if you're in the shot. Can we sit? Down. There you go. Okay, so always ask him to do something, then he gets the reward after he complies. If he doesn't comply, he doesn't get the reward. Okay, so for the targeting exercise, first you want to chop, make sure you keep up within about 2 to 3 inches. The biggest mistake people make is they start going way too far too fast. So we want to build success on success. So at first chop with about 3-4 inches, then chop on this side maybe 5, 6, and gradually get bigger and bigger. The goal should be within a couple days, you should be able to go for 15 feet when he's way in the kitchen and go like this and he runs over and stubs his nose to your hand. This is not designed to be used as a recall, but you can in emergency. Don't use it too much. But it is more like if you want to put a harness on, you get him in the car, you want to reposition him. Dogs have the opposition reflex we talked about off camera. So every time that we physically manipulate him, he's going to be inclined to pull against it. This is a great way to manipulate him without needing to be physical about it. So practice that. I usually do that with the target with about 10 treats and per exercise, and I'd like to see you practicing at least 3 times a day for about a week. By the end of the week, probably even sooner than that, you should be able to get them from coming 15 feet away. And at first practice when there's no distraction, but eventually it'd be nice if you can do it with a little distractions. But make sure the distraction level goes up just very progressively. Don't do too much too fast so he just won't be able to do it. Okay, the other one we went over was the, the leave it exercise. Leave it exercise, probably practice about the same thing, about 8 to 12 treats, probably 3 or more times a day. Now, you don't have to hold it out in front of him at first. You can do that. That's like a warm-up. I only have to do that a couple times with each dog, and then I don't ever have to do it again unless you have to brush up. The next stage is what you want to do is you're going to be dropping it. Make sure you're dropping at least a foot or 2 away. You can have it. You just have to lay down. I'm not asking a lot. Just lay down. You're a whole lot of dog. Yes, you are. And so he got it pretty quick. So you're already at the hovering part. So remember to drop it. Remember, their eyes are not very good for detail. So when you do the leadership exercise or anything else, make sure you drop the treat because we want to make it kind of hard for him to practice and develop that good skill set. So drop it from about 6 or 8 inches. And I usually drop it like this. And I'm holding my hand out. If he goes for it, I mirror. Thank you, good cameraman. But the idea is eventually you want to drop and like put your hand back here and not even need to do it. It'll get there, it's a progression. So go at his pace, not at our pace. But the idea for this, then if you're walking the street and it's Venice, there's some nasty, cheeseburger vomit or whatever it is, you say, leave it, he looks up at you, you pull a treat out of your pocket and you start going like this. And the idea is to hopefully pass whatever it is while he's looking up at you. And it's kind of a contract. We're saying if you leave what's on the ground, I will guarantee give you something else. It might be delicious on the ground, but it might be nasty. This is good. So when you're walking, make sure you always have a handful of those treats in like a breast pocket or somewhere so you can pull those out. And you want to practice, at first we're dropping it, but eventually you might want to do it back here. Get a couple pieces of treats and put them down there, put them on a leash and walk in past those treats. And as soon as if the treat is right here on the ground, he sees it, he starts walking to it. When he's about 3 feet away, that's when you would actually say, leave it. He looks up at you and then treat starts coming down as he passes it. So by the time the treat goes in the mouth, he's like, oh, it's back there. And I mean, Lowe's and Home Depot are both dog-friendly stores. I have a lot of people, Santa Monica and Venice, you can take, that's interesting. You can take dogs anywhere pretty much out here. But Lowe's and Home Depot are a great place to do this because it doesn't have a whole aisle full of stuff. And they have these long, straight aisles. So you can actually, I have apprentices or people who work for me or training dogs do this. They go down the aisle first and they drop like about every 5 feet pieces of Chipotle chicken or pizza bones or whatever it is. And then we practice walking up and down the aisles with him ignoring those things. You got to work your way up from easy to harder to harder. And there's going to be a lot, this is Venice, there's going to be a lot of nasty stuff on the ground, so being able to teach him to leave it alone will help it with that gas that he has. He has tremendous gas. It's exceptional gas. All right, also for the gas, sometimes that is related to the food. I feed my dogs Origin. Akana is also a really high value. Probably needs to be puppy food still. I would probably keep him on puppy food until he's about 1.5 years. Also, are you on Facebook?
No.
You might want to make a profile under his name. Just don't use your last name if you're not on Facebook, for the reason most people aren't. It's ridiculous. But there's a lot of these good groups that might be on the Mastiffs, and he's not a Mastiff, he's Mastiff mix. But they'll be happy to claim him anyways because he looks just like one, just smaller head. And just, hey, I had a question about food. What type of food do you guys use? Certain breeds process things better than others, but trying out different, just get small bags of food. We want to find some food that he likes. I think the eating thing was more of the way you were feeding him as opposed to the quality of the food itself. But we want to get to the point where we have food that agrees with him so you don't have to smell that. And so try getting small bags of food. And if you ask places like Kreiser's or Nicer, Healthy Pet or nicer place like that, often they'll have small sample bags for maybe 1 or 2 meals. Remember, food is about 8 hours of the digestive process. If he's sleeping, it might be a little bit longer than that. But try that out for a day or 2 and see how he does. And if he's not gassy and he likes the food. Now for the food, you were picking up the bowl, and when you pick up the bowl, you're taking away the whole deal. So what I do is put the food in his bowl, don't let him have it, block it the way we did in the leadership exercise or the kitchen in the video above. And then you put the food down, and he's not allowed to go to his feeding station. And then you grab, like where your bottle of wine is right now on the counter there, have a couple of chips or crackers or whatever, something you can eat in 5 or more bites. Then when you get done, go over and tap the bowl and call him by name. When he comes over to eat it, we're gonna use that passive training, come up with a funny word, put a little Post-it note on a little piece of wood on the backdrop there, chimichanga or fajitas or whatever you want to call his food. And so for 3 months, every time he takes his first bite of food, sometimes it's 4 months, you just say chimichanga. Just once when he gets his first bite. After I say chimichanga and he goes and eats. Eventually it'd be nice if you put the food down and you've been defending it so he understands I can't go eat it without permission. Then you go sit down and watch a little TV, and he's sitting there 10 feet away from his bowl, and they say chimichanga, and he runs for it. So the idea is to gradually, just like we did in the leave it exercise, elongate how long he has to wait for permission to get it. He'll have little drool things, ice cubes or icicles coming down. That stuff is great. But we need him to practice, to create scenarios where he can practice some self-restraint and self-control. This is why he jumps up on people, he barks for attention. He's just not used to that concept. And a lot of it is because he hasn't had a ton of rules. And so he just is out of practice for them. So, and if he doesn't, so ask him to eat. If he doesn't eat within about, if it's longer than a minute, I would offer him maybe 3 or 4 times. If after 60 seconds he doesn't come over, pick up the bowl, dump it empty, put the empty bowl back down. He doesn't eat again to the next meal. If it goes longer than 3 days without him eating, let me know. Like I said, my parents' dog ate breakfast the 4th day. But usually it's about a day and a half. And they're like, I'm not eating this. You're going to put some good stuff in there. After a while, hunger becomes your ally. So don't cheat with him because you're cheating against yourself. Okay, so we talked about exercise. I think when he's mischievous or naughty, it's often he's being a puppy. He doesn't need a ton of exercise, but he does need frequent bouts of mini exercise lessons. So if he likes to play fetch, you have a nice place here. You can play fetch up and down your hallway. You can take him for walks, which you do. Remember on the walk though, don't think of like completing the circuit. Just go 10 minutes this direction. And once you get to Venice or whatever it is, turn around and come back across the street so he has fresh sniffs. But let him sniff as long as it's safe to do so and it's not causing any problems. The sniffing is more draining than the actual locomotion of walking. You can also use a snuffle mat. I would wait until he is eating regularly when you give him food. Hey, buddy. Right down here. Okay, do that. Remember, the more you say it, the less you mean it. So I would wait until he's eating his food regularly. After about a week or so, you put the food down, he waits, he eats everything as soon as you give him permission, he's cleaning his plate. At that point, start using the snuffle mat. I would have a snuffle mat at work and take him, even if it's not his regular meal, give him a snack in the middle of the day. Remember, if he's sniffing, that's going to be mentally draining, and it should just help keep him preoccupied as well. Now, before you're going to get right in my face again, huh? We would like to have you recreate having people come and visit you at work. Now, I don't know what the room looks like. I've never been in a writer's room, but it probably is like a boring room with a table and a bunch of chairs, right? And coffee in the corner. Yep. So basically, you can kind of arrange your chairs to create a little bit of a... Jerry,
get out of there.
Come here, Jerry. We do work, his guardian does work in the entertainment field, so evidently he is just hogging the camera. But when he's doing this sort of stuff, he's being mischievous. This is an indication that he needs some exercise. So instead of being frustrated, yes, let's not do that. That watch is, I prefer to keep it on my wrist and not in your belly. But if he is, and one of the rules we're going to talk about will help with this sort of thing. But if he's doing this sort of thing, immediately take him out and go for a quick little walk. Don't let him nibble on you like he's doing now, because he just think he can do that for anybody. He's going to come and grab somebody. That's how dogs communicate with each other. He's saying that's bullshit, man. That's okay. But so anytime he touches you with his teeth, even if it's accidental, yelp and cry like a little girl and stop. And a good game for this is to get one of those tug of war ropes and play tug of war, which I'm sure he loves doing. But as soon as he touches you with his teeth, and then drop the rope, the game is over. So after a while, he'll realize that stops the game. So I'm going to be, and they can be very precise with their, they don't have to actually do that. Now, I'm not going to give him treats, but I'm going to use these treats to distract him. So a dog can't sniff and bark at the same time. So I can distract him here. He's probably going to bite it and toss my hand. So it's not ideal, but while we're doing this video, we just want to make sure you can hear it. And hopefully he doesn't have gas right now. What you like to do is try to arrange situations down where you can have somebody come to your office, to the writer room, and when you're ready, when you can move all the chairs around so the person can come in and can sit down, you can move a chair down and he can't get to them. But again, set him up for success. Take him for a walk ahead of time. When he comes back from his walk, give him 10 minutes to recover, then feed him a little snack out of the snuffle mat while the person's waiting in the next room. Then arrange the chairs and have them come in. And you can have them behind the deal. You can also not have them behind chairs and use the technique that I was using with the leadership exercise, standing in front of him. Now he's probably going to bark a lot when he's doing that. So if there's people in the next office space or whatever, that's my elbow. Yes, that didn't feel good. But if there's going to be people in the next office space, see if you can go use your space on the weekend or a time when there's nobody going to be there. He was barking a lot. He will bark a lot at first. That's kind of how you want to do it. There you go. Go get that one. And so we want to create scenarios when we have the time and we don't, because if you feel nervous or like we have the neighbor come by and ask because he was barking so much, he will bark a lot at first. Eventually he's going to learn that doesn't work, but we can't react to it. And if you're worried about somebody being in the next office bay worrying about it, then you're going to be verklempt and you're going to want to teach him not to do it. I'm holding his collar to prevent him from getting my arm. He's strong. Good thing I didn't work out today. All right, so pick and choose your battles as much as you can, but do things to set him up for success. Like I said, by exercising him, draining his energy is a great way to do it, or using his nose to drain that energy. Yes. Well, I'm glad he's not a real Mastiff. And that's not you're not a real Mastiff, but you certainly have the Mastiff strength. Okay, so we talked about rules. I guess, yeah, that's it for pretty much for exercise. Oh, the laser. You can use the laser as well. Actually, you want to pull that out, and let's do a little bit of that while I'm doing the rest of this. Otherwise, he's going to be nibbling on it.
That's
there we go.
idea.
Perfect. There we go. And so, so some dogs can chase a laser. It's a healthy thing for them to do. Some dogs should not. If your dog breathes heavy, gets anxious, acts like he's addicted to crack, this is not a good exercise for a dog. This, as you can see, is a better time of the day. He can see it better because it's getting a little bit darker. All right, so like for him, at like 1 to 3 minutes of exercise, I think is going to take care of that naughty behavior. So get yourself a laser, have one in both places, and just get used to it. Now for the spaying and neutering, you're doing exactly the right thing. I would probably look at about 1.5 years to get him neutered. Growth plates typically close around 60 to 80 weeks. Larger breed dogs, you want to keep them intact for longer, and especially because he doesn't have a lot of times they go through sexual maturity, they get frustrated and aggressive. He's not. He's just a goofy, playful puppy. Okay, so we also talked about rules. One of the rules, not being allowed on the furniture out here or inside. So you can get those X mats, put those down. Now, if he gets up here, you want him to get him down. Show him you have a treat, throw it on the floor. When he jumps on the floor and licks it up, say the word off. Then pull out the X mat, which should be probably folded up under here, and put him on the couch. If he moves him, remember to get that double-sided, or not double-sided, but the Velcro tape to hold them in place. But after a while, remember the dogs, it takes about 66 days to form a behavior pattern. After about 66 days, they'll just get out of the habit of doing this. Now, at the same time that you take away the furniture, we want to give him the dog bed. So throw a treat on the dog bed while he's watching. When he goes and licks it up, come with a funny name for each dog, unique name for each dog bed. So you throw it down, he comes and licks it up, you say Jamaica, or whatever the word is. Wait for him to vacate, throw another one, do that for 10 treats in a row. Then after 10 treats, wait for him to be looking there, and then drop a treat there. Now, it's getting darker, but as you see right here, if you can see it, is it pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay. It's dark. Dogs are colorblind, so make sure you get a light gray, white, or light cream colored dog bed, preferably with. Oh, it sounds like it's raining, kind of. But make sure there's not a lot of crevices, because I mean, if a crevice like that, it could fall in there and he'll dig at it forever. So if you get a cushion dog bed like this, it's a foam, it just makes it easier. So the second way we do it is when he's not paying attention, we leave a treat there and just observe. Don't say a word. When he finds it on his own, we say the word Jamaica or whatever the word is. Third way, you lead him there, put him in a sit or an LAY, put the treat in his mouth and say the command word. These are 3 ways to entice him to want to go here. Then when you're watching TV and he goes there on his own, pull a treat out of your pocket and throw a treat there. So now every time I come here, it rains treats. Also, when you get him a new toy or a bully stick or something like that, this is where you should find it. Now, my dogs love bully sticks. Some other things you might want to look into are edibles, not traditional California edibles we think about, but kneecaps, cow's ears, tracheas, cheeks, oxtails. There's a lot of different things that are edible body parts. My dog's favorite are the knees. I like the knees because they last a lot longer than a bully stick. That's usually about 2 or 3 chew sessions, and it'll end up with a little tiny bone about this big after when you're done. So, and see, now we have the laser out and he's barely chasing it. We're getting close to maxing him out. So having some of those things, so when you do have a couple of those at the office, so if you do have somebody comes in, exercise him first, practice blocking him, and once he sits or lies down, have that person give him a bully stick, or you could give it to yourself, or the kneecap, or whatever it is. So you give him something else to do to preoccupy his time rather than jumping up or trying to hump the person who's in the writer's room. Okay, so the furniture should be off limits for 90 days minimum, or as long as the problem is going on. But don't remember, inviting him on the couch as a reward is a confusing thing to do. If you want to invite him on the couch, it's just because you want to, not as a reward for good behavior. You want to reward him, pet him, throw the ball, chase the laser, whatever it else. Do something that he likes to do, not breaking a rule. Other rules shouldn't be allowed in the kitchen when we're preparing food, shouldn't be allowed within 7 feet of any human who's eating. So just kind of create an arbitrary boundary, maybe around this table. You can put some painter's tape down it temporarily so you can see exactly where the line is. But the idea is to practice the exercises that I showed you in the video above enough where he understands when he's cooking food in the kitchen, I'm just not allowed to go in there. And then now he's developing the self-control himself rather than us enforcing it. Another rule, make him sit before you open the door. Go to the door, tell him to sit 1 time. And I would use this big glass door that you use as your primary, but use it everywhere else. So go to the door and say sit once. If he doesn't sit, walk away, sit down somewhere nearby and wait 1 minute, then go back and command him again 1 time to sit. If he doesn't sit, then I walk away and sit down for 2 minutes, then I sit down for 4 minutes and 8 minutes, keep double length of time, just make sure you're seated. And then eventually, as soon as he sits, fly that door open as fast as possible. This will train him to go sit at the door to ask to go out. We also talked about, and make sure you're eating something before you feed him. We also talked about petting with purpose of passive training. Petting with purpose is if you want to pet him or he's demanding attention by nudging you or pawing at you. Remember, don't practice the shake at all for anything for a while. So if he demands attention, we give him a counter order, tell him to sit. If he sits within that 3-second window, he gets attention. Pat him under this chin and say the word sit and only the word sit. Remember, they hear the first word that we say, so don't say good sit, just sit. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, lean back, pull out your phone and do something else. Now, if he's jumping up on you, you got to do something about that. I would burn the energy. But the idea is to tell him, look, when I ask you to do something, if you don't do it, you're not going to get any attention from me. I'm not going to yell at you, because remember, attention is validated. If he's barking and he yells, shut up, he thinks, cool, now we're both barking. So instead, it's just either you do what I want and get a reward, or nothing happens. And after a while, after enough repetition, he'll start doing what you want because he thinks that he came to the conclusion to do that. So for petting with purpose, he tells you what to do. Nothing happens other than you give him a counter order, talking fast. Use your hand motion that I showed you. Once he sits, pet him under his chin, say sit, and then pet him as much or as little as you want. After a while, he'll start prepaying for the attention. When he does, make sure you pet him and at least acknowledge it once, otherwise he's going to do something else. If he does a lot, again, that's an indication I need to exercise him a little bit. If you have friends or people that are coming around, ask them to remind you by saying paycheck. If they ever see you petting the dog without asking the dog to do something first, or without the dog prepaying for it, because that's what he will do. He'll start coming and sitting in front of you to prepay, so pet for that. If somebody says paycheck, even if you did it right, you stop petting, you tell him to sit or lie down, and as soon as he does, you pet him on his chin and say, actually, I asked him to do it, you missed it, you didn't see me, you were opening the fridge, but thanks, I do forget to pet without a purpose. Passive training is waiting for the dog to organically off the behavior. Right there, you could have petted him and said, come. So since his come is not very good, every time he comes to you, make sure you get into a point of saying come. And have you said come a whole bunch of times and had him not come?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's faster to rebrand it and change it from come to here. because it doesn't have the baggage. So the exercise that I showed you with him walking back and forth, I would get that crack, the freeze-dried beef liver, and have some friends come over. It works best if you have at least 3 people. So now we also need him not to jump up on people, so make sure we exercise him somewhat, not a ton. You're gonna lay down, sit, down. If I'm luring him, I'm gonna keep the treat within an inch of his nose. And then remember, down. Treat goes first, command words immediately after, and definitely don't do it if he's pawing at you for attention like this. Yes, I love you too, but look at the laser. Go get the laser. There you go. Redirecting dogs' attention is a great way to get them out of the way, or out of the shot in this case. So that's all right, I can keep talking while he's doing that. So basically for passive training, it's waiting for him to organically offer you the behavior that you want. Okay. There you go. We offer him to do the behavior that we want when he does it organically on his own. Now, that's pretty skinny for him. So every time he comes to you, pet him and say come. Every time he sits, pet him and say sit. Every time he lays down, pet him and say down. If he lays down on his side, call it flop. If he stretches, you want to pet him for that. Come up with a word that means to drink water, happy hour, or whatever your favorite alcoholic beverage is. Every time he takes a bite of food, and so on and so forth. For remember also for toys, to get him some other toys. Get it in an antler. Get a big one. Give it to Shannon or somebody that has a lot of dogs. Let them other dogs chew on it for a week or so. Bring it back. He'll probably love it. You can also make sure you get him a water buffalo horn if he likes it. It'll probably stink it'll stink nasty for about a week or two. Then it'll stop stinking. You might want one for the office, one for here. Also getting a bunch of nylobones in different shapes and flavors. Okay. Let me think, what else? We went over the escalating consequences, how to disagree. Then the exercise we pretty much did in the videos above. So that's pretty much it. Is there anything else you want me to go over?
I think that's it for now.
Okay.
I'll call you if I have questions.
If you do, please. That's the only time I get mad at my clients is when they I had one guy give me a bad review and he's like, well, it worked for a while, then stopped working. And I'm like, why didn't you call? And I called him afterwards. He's like, I didn't want to bug you. Well, so you give me a bad review? Just call me. I have had people call me literally years after I worked with them. The dog had passed away. They got a puppy and they lived on the East Coast. I was able to help them with a 20-minute phone call. Now, if I need to come back, I have to charge for my time. And if you want to have me come back and work with some loose leash walking, I'm happy to do that or anything else. I'm in Santa Monica, like Ocean Park, so I'm pretty close. But please just text me because I have all these videos of everybody else that I can probably share with you without needing to do that. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come. Well, sit. Well, this is Jerry. I'm David. It's dusk. This is Venice. And this is Jerry's roadmap to success. Remember, I'm telling him right now, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it. Sit. Sit. Good job. All right, stop it.